AJ Henning on the muff.
Yeah.
Is that a play that he just tried because he's trying to make the team, and what's the teaching point from that?
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest things that we tell our players and our returners is we want to catch every punt. We talk about if the ball lands on the ground, we're going to lose 15 yards of field position. So we want to be aggressive but not reckless. And when we have to dive for a ball, that's not what we're really looking for. I love his aggressiveness of running up there trying to catch a bad punt. But, we just got to be a little bit more instinctual about, hey, if I have to dive for one, I can't go out there and catch it. He learned that lesson right away. We end up talking to him right afterwards. And, his biggest thing, Coach, I was just trying to catch every punt. I said, I totally agree, and I love that aggressiveness. We just got to make sure that we just don't dive after one to go and catch it, because that's too hard of a catch for him.
I'm going to jump in here real quick so Perk doesn't have a run of 17 straight questions. The Ollie Gordon play where he got the ball. First of all, how proud of you that he had the awareness to do that, and B, was that discussed before the game or early in training camp, that situation occurred?
Yeah, proud dad right there, proud coach. It was one of those guys that might have played a couple snaps his whole career on special teams in college. And for him to, have that opportunity during a game and him to execute that one, because you might get that one time a year throughout the whole league. And for him to really go out there and execute a rule like that, it was just great. And the other thing that I loved about this was when we looked at the film, we looked at the sideline, and we had the veteran players going crazy too, that a rookie could take what's being coached in the team meeting rooms out on the field, and then to execute it during the game. Like, it was awesome to see. Usually when you see, we call it a straddle rule. We're trying to straddle the sideline, the OB, and then we got to put one foot out first and then touch it. Usually when you see it around the league, when it happens, it's pretty simple. Guy just steps out and then touches the ball. Well, Ollie knew, doesn't matter, he doesn't have to possess it, he just has to touch it. And for him to do that, it was awesome to see, and the players to be all excited for, a rookie to end up doing that. That was great.
On punting, I'm curious. The stats we always look at are average, net, percentage inside 20, and then I know you guys look at, did they place it where you wanted it,
Sure.
and hang time. So what's your personal perspective? What would be the one or two that we might really want to drill down on the most because you do?
Yeah. We're looking to marry two things together, distance and hang time. We're not looking for a 70-yard punt with a 4-2 hang time. Like, that's going to put too much pressure on our coverage, where now you're going to get a returner 20 yards head start to go and make a move and have a full head of steam on that. So we're really looking for that. And then, if it is a third, it'll be the direction. We're not trying to hit the ball down the middle of the field. That's not what we're trying to do. But if we're looking at anything, it's the distance and the hang time, where we're trying to marry everything together so we can have great coverage too, so we can be down there to go make a play.
Distance is not net, that would be the average. So
Yeah.
so net, it's less on the punter than almost the coverage team. The coverage team has as much or more responsibility in the net number.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that in general, because if, we kick a 50-yard punt and it's a 4-0 hang time, I'm not going to blame the coverage on that, because we're putting our coverage in a bad situation where that guy, again, gets a head of steam and then ends up going. If we do get a 50-yarder with 4-9 hang time or 4-8 hang time, then that's going to be on the coverage, because the punter end up doing his job. And really proud of our punters and on how they've done in the preseason games, where they've married up that, for the most part, with hang time and distance, where our guys are down there to make plays.
Bailey had a really nice one last game, 59 yards down to the 9. Does he have a leg up right now in this competition?
Yeah, again, everything we're basing on is day to day. Great punt. We obviously very proud of that kick and what he's did, but every time it could be something new. So the leg up and stuff like that, we just go day by day and evaluate it on that.
How much does the holding play into that competition as well?
So, it does. But I know when I talk to Jason, he's very comfortable with both of the guys, and Jason, I want his input You know, I want Joe's input. I want our punter's input about certain guys. I want that because it's the whole part about communication, everyone feeling comfortable with one another. And, you know, just talking to Jason, he feels comfortable with both guys, which was great. And for us to have an honest conversation about that stuff and him giving me answers like that is really good. And it's with all the players too, because we talk about being open and honest with each other and just having that open communication so the dialogue can be correct, and then we can base the decision off that.
How popular do you get at this point in preseason when it comes to players?
Very popular. A lot of guys come up to me. Now, here's what I will say. The guys have been unbelievable since I've gotten here, of coming up to my room. You know, very first meeting, I've talked to them, hey, this is an open door policy. If my door is closed, knock on it, come interrupt me. I might be talking to my wife. It's okay. I'll get off the phone immediately with her, and we'll talk about football. They've been awesome. But and maybe a little bit more now with these last, 3 practices where guys are coming in. But again, they've been great. They understand how important special teams are. And, I have to give Mike credit too, because Mike has put a major emphasis on it. And again, he's in the meetings, he's talking to players on how important special teams are, whether it's in the team meetings or when he's sitting in my meetings on special teams. And the players feel that, and they understand that, hey, special teams are really important. And, I've got to be able to contribute with that along with offense and defense too.
It can be easy to focus on individual plays like Ollie's, which is understandable. But if you could take a step back and look at special teams as a whole, what do you see? How much improvement would you say has been made so far? How pleased are you or aren't you so far?
Yeah, I think from day one, I've seen guys improve. They're buying in, they're understanding what we're trying to do with technique and fundamentals. And it's been fun to see that throughout training camp and now that first preseason game at Chicago, where we had a couple big returns, whether it was on punt return or kickoff return. And then we end up marrying that into Detroit, where we had a couple nice returns there too. And we're seeing guys that are doing what we call high screens, where we're not trying to push a guy in the back and they're trying to high screen a guy, and those different techniques that we've been teaching. So seeing a lot of great improvement from these guys, whether it's a veteran player or rookies. So it feels great that the guys are understanding what we're trying to accomplish and teach, and for them to show it out in the games, it's a really cool thing to see.
Those big returns, it seems like the guys are catching the ball with all kinds of space. When you watch the wide copy, it's the gunners aren't getting a lot of downfield movement. How pleased have you been with how the job you guys have done blocking up those gunners in the punt return game?
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Hey, it starts with the guys on the outside. If we can do a great job on their gunners, that'll be big for us, because that's going to provide our returner a bunch of room for them to get vertical. Or if we run, a stretch play out to the wide side of the field, anytime that we can handle gunners is going to help out us getting explosive plays. And I think they've done a really good job with the technique wise and being violent. I think, heck, in the Detroit game we watched, one of the players, Storm Duck, end up throwing a guy about 5, 6, 7 yards and knocking down he looked like a bowling pin, knocked down a bunch of guys. But that being said, we got a little too aggressive on our last one, where a guy, ends up being aggressive and hitting the guy 5, 6 yards. We can't have that, and we'll continue to coach that up. Hey, we can be aggressive, just not reckless, because we can't afford penalties on special teams.
Grayson Murphy has played a lot on special teams. Derek McClendon, some, but not as much.
Yeah.
What do you think of each in their roles?
Yeah, I think they're doing great. In fact, we've moved them a bunch of different spots, whether it's on punt return, kickoff, in practice and things like that. So really excited about those guys on what they've done. And in fact, we're moving Murph to a different position today on punt team, and we're going to see what he can do there. Our biggest thing that we talk about special teams is versatility. You've got to be able to play multiple positions. I just can't be a right tackle on punt. I've got to understand what we're doing protection-wise. I got to play left tackle. I got to play right guard, left guard, all those different types of things. So those players understand that versatility is going to be big, because, again, we can only dress 48 during the game, and they've got to be able to play multiple positions. So we'll see how they end up going here in today's practice and in the future too.
We think
position, you inherited a couple of guys who were core special teamers before, Quentin Bell and Cameron Good.
Yeah.
What have you seen from each of those in your units?
A lot of great things. Saw both of them make a great play on kickoff against Detroit. Seen Cam Good make a lot of different plays in the Chicago game. It's been really fun to see those guys again accept and excel in the role that they're in, whether they're playing on defense and now they got to go on special teams. That's fun to take a look at and see these guys improve and then be productive out in the games. So really excited about both of those guys.
Since the kickoff rules change, if I studied the whole league, what are a couple of positions that teams seem to be using more of those players?
Yeah.
Is it like receivers, more receivers, corners, less linemen?
Yeah. So.
Where a few less.
Yeah, now with the kickoff rule changing where now it's going to be the touchbacks at the 35-yard line, you're going to see a lot more kickoff returns. You know, I think the league is talking about over 70% they expect, and that's up almost 30%. So you're probably going to see a little bit more bigger bodies just because the space is not as big. You know, when you had a chance to run from the 35-yard line, there's where you see all the fast players, the guys that can make people miss in space. Now it's, you know, we're 5 yards apart from one another, so you're probably looking at a little bit more bigger bodies. And again, everyone's different. Everyone might have a different philosophy on how they want to do it, but some of the stuff that we're seeing a little bit more around the league is bigger bodies. I mean, Detroit even had, you know, bigger guys in there, whether it's D-line or offensive line. So I think you're going to see a lot of different things throughout the league on kickoff and kickoff return. Sorry I wasn't able to talk to you guys earlier about that. We wanted to make sure we talked to Jake and, you know, obviously congratulate him beforehand, but we decided to move on with the punting situation. Jake Bailey ended up winning it. Again, hats off to both of those guys. They did a really good job, competitive every single day. Again, really proud of them. I know Ryan's going to be punting somewhere in the National Football League. We just felt going forward that Jake would be our guy. Really happy with the consistency that he's been throughout camp, whether it's field punts plus 50, the preseason games. Super proud to work with him and excited for him too, because I know he's going to have a great year. Chris, come on, Chris, come on, come on.
What was the deciding factor?
Yeah, you know what? It was hard. Just because both of those guys, it was back and forth like constantly. You know, guys would hit a big ball, it would be Ryan, then it'd be Jake. It was a little bit of everything. You know, the consistency part, the holding along with Jason, his ability to kick off. You know, all these different types of factors that we look at. We just felt just going forward, you know, for the team that we need to move on and also help, you know, Ryan out trying to get on with another football team as quickly as he possibly could too. So we want to do right by the players, and I know I want to do the same thing. I know Mike does. So we just felt it was going to be best for us to move forward with Jake.
Were games a bigger factor or practice and
Everything, you know, and it was exciting to see, you know, Jake hit a bunch of really good footballs. Like he had 3 field punts, all over 50 yards and all over 5.0 on the hang time. So I wouldn't say it's just one thing. It's a little bit of everything that we took into consideration for him to win the job.
When you watch Bailey tape from last year, what's something you believed he could do better?
Yeah, you know, when I first met with Jake, one of the biggest things was consistency with him. You know, if we're going to be a directional punting team, you know, we need to get the ball close to the numbers. And I felt like he's really honed in on that and focused in on being a directional. And if sometimes we do hit the ball 60 yards, we've got to have great hang time with it. And there's also a factor that I tell those interior players too. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be outside the numbers every time. It could be in the middle of the field, but we're also paying you to go and cover. So those guys all understand that, and you know, I think Jake is ready to go and have a great season.
Obviously, what's best for the team is what matters most. But
Yeah.
you had a relationship with Ryan, so
Yeah.
how difficult was that?
Yeah, extremely difficult. You know, when I told him today, and he knew this going into it, I had the same situation when Ryan came in as a rookie with Brett Kern. Brett Kern's the best all-time punter in Tennessee Titans history. All-pro, Pro Bowl player, and we had to make a move and decided to go with Ryan instead of Brett Kern. So it was very difficult because, you know, he's a great person, a great teammate, and a great punter. And it's always tough to go through those situations. But at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do as coaches, make those difficult decisions and what we feel is best for the football team going forward.